Okay, so hey everyone. What I'm going to be going over is Affliction Warlock and the basics and how to play it properly. Okay, so I guess we'll start off with the talents. These are the talents I use. The big one is the last three. Glimmer of Sacrifice, sacrifice your demon to gain one of its abilities to increase its damage done by your Drain of Soul, Haunt, and Drain Life by 25%. So, as you can imagine, the more you drain life, you do more damage. Archimonde's Darkness gives you 2 charges of Dark Soul. You usually want to line one up in your opener, or if there's a big burst phase in the fight, like what's his name, Gorfind, and save one for execution phase. We'd be doing a bit more damage. Okay, so we go to Soul Burn, Soul Hunt. Grants Soul Burn empowerment to your Haunt spells. Your Haunt spells also increase the damage of your damage over time effects on all targets by 20%. If you let this buff drop, you are doing it wrong. You need to keep it up 100% of the time. It does cost 2 soul shards, so while you're playing Affliction, it's a bit of soul shard management. It's not that much, not very complicated, um, but yeah. um, every other talent fucking blows. Let's just leave it at that. Glyphs, there's no initial glyphs to increase your DPS. I guess a mandatory glyph would be Glyph of Unstable Affliction, which reduces the cast time by 25%. It's not really, it just reduces the cast time, so you can clip the last dot at the end. But everything else is preference. I use Glyph of Siphon Life, passive healing, and 10% passive damage reduction from the sources. Help the healers out because God knows they need our help. And yeah, so let's get on to what our spells actually do. Um, okay, so Haunt um, basically increase your damage over time. Increases damage over time you deal to a target by 35%. So, the important thing about Haunt is yes, you're gonna Shadow Burn Haunt, so all your dots do 30%, 20% more damage to all targets, so it's very useful. But the important thing about Haunt is you want to keep it up 100% of the time while you are either lusted and you pop your Dark Soul. That will maximize the amount of damage you do with Haunt. Keep it 100% of the time when those 2 buffs are active. Um, Now we go to Drain Soul. The reason why Drain Soul is so strong is because it causes all your other damage over time spells to deal 50% of their normal damage. What does that mean? For every tick of Drain Soul, it does 50% of its normal damage. So once you have all your dots rolling, 1 tick of Drain Soul, all your dots do 50% of its damage instantly. So again, that is very strong. Combine that with your Glimmer of Sacrifice, which you're doing 25% more damage with the initial Drain Soul. It's very powerful for single target. Warlocks, depending on the fight, are very strong single target. The shorter the fight, obviously, the better your numbers are going to be. The longer the fight, you're still going to be up there, but not as high as you'd hoped. Um, let's see. So yeah, we have our 3 basic dots that we have to keep up at all times: unstable affliction, corruption, and agony. Most important dots to have up at all times is agony, because agony stacks up to 10. Once it's at 10, it's going to start hitting its hardest. And corruption. The reason we keep corruption up is because corruption has a chance to give you back a soul shard, and you need those to keep up your 100% uptime on soul burn hot. Unstable affliction, you can let it drop depending on the fight. Um, but again, try to go for 100% uptimes on all dots. So, but like fights like Hellfire Council, keeping all three of them up 100% of the time is extremely difficult. And as long as you have corruption and agony up, and you don't let agony fall under 10 stacks, then you're good. Sorry, I'm a bit sick. So, okay, so whenever the spells, um, I guess, ruin your flask. I use haste food. You know, haste is the main stat we want to go for and make our dots tick way faster. Um, just to explain the stats a little bit more, yes, haste is the key stat to go for. Works extremely well in single target. But if we're talking about a multi-target fight, haste is still very strong, but mastery takes over once there's like three targets up at the same time. But still, mastery, you'd want to go for haste and mastery, then your crit or multi-strike. But as you can see, like I'm just going pure haste. Mark of Winsong, haste, as much haste as you can. Now the big game changer for affliction is your clash trinket. Reduces duration and period of agony, unstable affliction, and corruption by 29%. Mine's heroic warforged, so this is the equivalent of a non-upgraded mythic one. So your dots are taking 29% faster. So as you can imagine, you get the full duration of your dots 29% faster instead of having to wait for it to drop. So with that, this is your main trinket. Like once you get this trinket, and you're gonna notice a big difference here. Let me show you. So I'm gonna take the trinket off. I'll put this trinket, and let's apply our dots. All right, you're gonna notice how they start ticking down. They start ticking down. They're ticking down. They're ticking down. It takes a very long time for the dots to actually finish. You know, so about 5 seconds on agony. Nothing too special. Your dots are ticking. Now, we put this bad boy on. Our dots should start ticking 29% faster. You'll notice a pretty big difference on how fast they tick. So let's apply our dots again. You notice that they're going down extremely fast and they're ticking a lot faster. You know, that 29% is really, really useful. If you get it mythic, it's just amazing. But we wait for everything to come back, and we'll go over the rotation. It's a very, very simple rotation. It depends if you're a greedy player or a passive player. So, you want whatever. I usually go with Void Walker, Sack. Gives you a nice fat shield when you need it. Or you can go with Fell Hunter. Gives you a silence. Since our raid is Hunter melee heavy, really don't need to do that. So I just prefer the passive shield. Okay, so you sack. I have all my buffs. So my drain so it's gonna do 25% more damage and heal me for 2% of my maximum health every 8 seconds. Very useful buff. So what do you want to do in your own printer? Uh, Here we go. So I'm gonna do. I put 15 just to explain. Usually you're gonna see it at 10, around 3. You're gonna wanna pop your soul burn. You're gonna pre-pot, haunt, and then you're gonna blow all your cooldowns, including your demon, and you're just gonna drain soul. Once you right here, I'm max soul shards. You don't want this to happen. What you always want to have 3, because then you're going to be wasting your nightfall prop. See, I just got another one, so I'm going to keep using it. On the side, you can see I have 10 seconds left on my Soulburn Haunt, so I refresh it at 10 seconds, and then I keep all my dots up. It's basically keep your dots up 100% of the time, and you will do fine. Imagine all this with buffs and raid buffs, haste. So let me explain this add-on here in the middle. This add-on is called F dots. It basically tracks the duration of your dots. What it's basically telling me, the way I have it set up, if it's green, means you are allowed to refresh. You will not lose DPS. If it's red, it means that you will DP. You will lose DPS, canceling out the current dot you have on. Now, if you see here, there is a benchmark on these dots where you could refresh, and then there's a secondary benchmark that you could also refresh. You can do it at either one, and you won't lose DPS. Now, this is what I mean if you're a greedy player or if you're a safe player. A greedy player like me, I would try to go for the second refresh point without letting the dot drop, because as you can see, my drained soul has ticks that I can still get out of the dot for. So as we look at unstable affliction, I still get dots, 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 and then I refresh it right there. Try to keep it at 100% of the time. What else can I go over? That's basically it. You want to keep your haunt, you want to keep this buff up at all times. You know, Periodic spells increased by 20%. You know, you want to keep your haunt up all the time. When you have your dark soul active, you want to keep it up all the time. The good thing about affliction is our 2 and 4 piece. Let me explain those right now. Each time Drain Souls deal damage, it has a 10% chance to extend the duration of Dark Soul by 2%. That is fucking huge. So as you can see, the more you drain soul, the more damage you do, on top of the fact that you're getting extra ticks of your Dark Soul whenever it's out. And then your 4 piece is when Dark Soul Misery is active, your Drain Soul damage also refreshes the duration of Haunt on the target. So you can just imagine the pure single target damage you're doing when you have everything rolling, RNG is on your side, and you're constantly refreshing your Dark Soul, and you're constantly keeping Haunt up on the target. Your dots are going to tick immensely. You know, um, but that's basically it for Affliction. You know, Soul Burn affects a few spells, but basically, Soul Burn allows you to have a movement speed burst if you use your teleport, as you can see right here. It's not very useful. It's a waste of a shard when you're trying to DPS. Soul Burn also allows you to instantly summon any of your minions. Again, not useful. And then you can also Soul Burn, Soul Swap, which automatically applies all 3 dots on your target. But again, not useful, a waste of a soul shard, which you can be using to pump out more DPS. And then the last thing Soulburn Haunt does is Seed of Corruption, which once you apply it on the target, you damage it, and it will blow up and apply corruption on all targets. It's like your AoE spell, but if you're going AoE for a fight, might as well just play Destruction. But just to go over it one more time, you know, we're gonna soul burn. You're gonna have a little countdown on how you want it. Pre-punt haunt. Dark soul. Apply all your dots and drain soul. See? Refresh here. It's in the green. Refresh. Refresh here. And that's basically all you have to do. And once it's at 10 seconds, you refresh again, and you keep on DPS and not letting all your drops down. So that will be the end of this video. I'll make the other one soon.